That'll wake everybody up. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Oh, look. We go live, and so does Ethan. He did that shit on purpose.
That'll wake everybody up. Hello, everyone.
No, I'm just getting a bunch of things. He might have did that earlier. Look. We go live, and so does Ethan.
Yeah, I got bombarded, but I haven't had my system on in a couple days, so
yeah. Alrighty. So, guys, I'm happy to have you guys here with me today. Let's roll the intro because we got a packed show to get into today. It's packed. Packed like a. Well, I can't say that on there.
No, not until 10 o'clock.
Yeah. All right. Roll that sweet intro.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Doing all right.
Hey there.
Good.
Hello to the chat room. Hello to Indie Volt Radio.
Yes. Hello, Ted Davies, Professor Trico, and Jesse Bird.
Yeah, Ted will be joining us later tonight to talk about his comic retreat that's actually debuting this week and at Michigan Comic-Con. He's excited about that.
As well it should be.
So
Introduce yourself.
I am Varian Grant, publisher, occasional Playboy philanthropist, as well as the founder of IndieVolt.com, IndieVolt TV, IndieVolt everything. It's me. It's all me. Been publishing comics for quite a while now. Been interested in comics for longer. God help us all. To my immediate, is that right? Right? Is Louis Bright Raven?
Yes, I'm Louis Bright Raven, 26-year veteran of the comic book industry and founder of Constellation Studios. I've also worked with multiple publishers throughout the years, Arrow Comics, Caliber, Marvel. Worked in the role-playing game industry and science fiction industry too. And below us is the master, Randy Zimmerman.
The master something. Anyway. Hey, I've been
debater. You're the master debater.
Whatever. I've been self-publishing comics for years. Indie comics, lots of indie comics, Arrow Comics, Weeby Comics, Massive Comics. Worked for a lot of different independent companies. For the last 10 years, I've been doing my own newspaper. I've been circulating around mid-Michigan. That I've been moving more paper than most of the top 300 comics have been selling. So just right here in my little local county. Of course, it was free and it was advertiser supported, but it had all sorts of fun stuff in it. So Flint Comics and Entertainment. I'm just sorting through all that today.
That's
100 issues, 1 million prints out there.
That's a lot of paper.
Red boxes all over. Yep. I've done a couple of videos. I run Zim Geek, or I am the Zim Geek YouTube channel now. So they could use as many subscribers and listeners as we can possibly get our hands on.
Yeah.
More content coming real quick. I'm just been cleaning out my basement this last week. That's all.
Yeah. I got a chance to go over it to Randy's house last week. And I got a chance to go into his basement, and it is it's a museum.
It's a bigger mess now than what it was before.
Really?
Yeah. Jesse and Gabe were over yesterday, so each one took a box. You can hardly notice anything's gone. I'm not kidding.
Oh man!
Each one walked out with a big box, and it looks the same.
So, guys, we got a hot topic today. We're talking about
hot topic.
Yeah, got a hot topic. We
in the mall.
Yeah, I'm gonna get sued.
Better that than a hot pocket, I guess.
I want to jump into the question so we can get to that because our main topic today is if indie publishers need Comic-Con. I did get a Comic-Con promoter, Mark Hodges, who runs Grand Rapids Comic-Con, to send me a statement. He couldn't be on the show. He would have been, but he doesn't have the gear to do so. So he's but he, you know, we're gonna help Mark get set up. We're gonna help him. But I want to jump into these questions that we got, guys, because we got some questions.
I'm going to be a moderator at the Grand Rapids Con. Hopefully, if they decide which panels I get to moderate, which ones they trust me with. I'm hoping for Gail Simone. But anyway. I already told them, hey, best behavior. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
We can tuck all those politics aside and not mention stuff and focus on the real meaning for the convention, which is comics, fun, and entertainment.
Absolutely.
Hi from Canada, guys. I listened to the show on Indie Volt Radio. Oh, I love that. And decided to write in this week when Randy suggested that comics, at least American, are cheap, disposable entertainment. Is he suggesting that we should discard comics after they have been read? Would this not make the art and work that goes into making a comic all for nothing? Rainish?
Yeah, I think it's Renash.
Rianish?
Yeah.
And sorry for massacring that name. Comics always started out as disposable literature. That's why it's so valuable today. Back in the golden age, they just needed something to keep those newspaper presses wet so that they didn't have to go through and clean the ink out. So they collected what was the most popular part of the newspaper, which was the comic strips, and cut them together into single sheets, cut that down into books, threw it out on the newsstand for a dime just to see if they could sell it. Comics were originally always meant to be disposable, you know, stuff that you could take and roll up and stick into your back pocket. But that's what makes it valuable, is especially those golden age books, especially after the 50s and all of the comic burnings that happened here in the States with the induction of the Comic Code Authority. But what I'm saying is that there should be some comics should always be looked at as high art, because these guys always, the artists, creators all put their sweat and themselves into their work for the most part. But there is a certain aspect of comics that needs to have that disposability, that needs to have that accessibility. And the way you do that is by keeping the prices low, printing on cheap paper, being disposable at times. Comics have come out in so many different formats over the years. I'm working on a video now as I'm cleaning my basement. I'm pulling out all these different formats that comics were in at one time or another, just to show folks that you don't have to fit a comic bag. You don't have to have a backing board. You can do comics in all sorts of different forms in order to get it out there to the masses. And that's really part of the fun, at least to me, in doing sequential art. You know, whether it's a wrapper wrapped around a bubble gum or a cheap little newsprint, small book that they used to wrap in plastic and stick in the bottom of a cereal box, or stuck them on the back page of the newspaper. You know, there's all sorts of different places for sequential art and all sorts of different formats that we all ought to be printing in, or that folks ought to be experimenting with. And just the last 30 years, especially since this direct market started up, everybody's been pigeonholed into a specific size so that they can fit a specific box or a specific bag with a board, or be able to be slabbed correctly, or all of this. Doesn't have to go that way, especially not anymore, especially not with the era of the graphic novel. And, you know, there should be a lot of different levels of sequential art coming out in a lot of different formats and a lot of different papers. Some should be nice art books. Some should just be like disposable manga. You know, they print more manga over in Japan than they do toilet paper for a reason. You know, a lot of that stuff's disposable, made to be read real quick and collected or tossed. And the ones that, just like the Flint comic paper that I did, folks would tell me that they had a stack of that sitting in the closet. It would fit a comic magazine bag if anybody wanted to collect it. But, and, you know, or you could just throw it on your nightstand, you know, or line your bird cage or cat box with it, or whatever you needed to do. You know, I made it intentionally to be read and enjoyed any way possible. Nothing pleased me better. And I've got pictures up on videos where I've walked into a local restaurant and they've tacked the comic up on a bulletin board over top of their urinal for folks to read while they're peeing. You know, to me, that's awesome. Any way to get out there and get read.
Yeah.
You know?
Let's see here. We will go to the next question.
To see the stuff that becomes valuable is the disposable stuff, the stuff that you'd never imagine. Especially you go back and look at the prices, how the Golden Age books have jumped lately. It's just insane. You know, you can't find them in good shape because everybody used to fold them up or stick them in their back pocket, or if they didn't, or the kids collected them, they went and burned them. You know, during the 50s.
Yeah.
There's an old art proverb that states you shouldn't learn how to draw from comics. I believe that this newest crop of writers, both indie and mainstream, all learned how to write from reading some of the worst works out there. Some of the worst. Everybody reads some.
I read
that's Richard E. Thanks for writing that in a lot. And anybody else want to address that, since I kind of carried away the last one?
Well, that was okay. The last one was addressed.
That was directed for you.
Yeah. I think that I see a lot of writers in mainstream comics now writing for the trade. You know, they're writing the whole storyline is so it can be collected in 5 or 6 issues, released as a trade paperback. And I'm seeing a lot of indie guys try the same thing, not realizing they're not writing for the trade. There's no trade paperback in their immediate future. They're just writing, and there's no payoff almost. I mean, I've been buying comics recently from Second and Charles for $3. Some mainstream stuff. I got a Superman, Batman, Superman book, 2 of them. They're $2 a piece, and they don't go anywhere. There's no resolution. I mean,
the story just kind of sits there and spins the wheels.
Yeah. And I gotta agree with Richard here. I'm seeing some of that in indie comics, but I think that's because that they're being influenced by what they're reading in the mainstream. Oh, that works there. Well, I'll try it too.
Well, I don't know if it's so much what they're learning how to write from reading it as so much as what is being dictated to them by corporate agenda. Because a lot of these writers are working in other media today. They're working in film and television, and they're working in prose fiction, and they have no problem telling complete stories in those formats. So I think it has to do with a lot with how the companies are demanding the format be done too.
Mm-hmm. There's some a lot of that comes down, especially in the mainstream, comes down to the lousy editors that are out there that don't know the market, don't know the business, don't know the formula, don't know the format. They're lucky if they've graduated with any kind of English degree. Some of them haven't even gone that far, you know, or some of them have no English training. Most all of them have no real training in comics. So I think the problem here is exactly the opposite from what Richard's stating. These up and coming writers aren't reading comics. At least they're not reading good comics because they don't know how to formulate a story to save their life, you know, or plot one. There's a difference between writing and plotting, and there's a difference between writing a YA novel and having to sit there and do a 6-issue or 5-issue chapter play for comics, you know, where you're not just writing, you're writing visually. And there's a lot of big differences there. And I've seen a lot of really big writers that I respected. Straczynski, I think, is a really good example. When he come off of Babylon 5, he was writing Babylon 5 comics for DC. That's the first thing he come off and did. And those comics were atrocious. Absolutely overcrowded, way too wordy, and they were really super difficult reads. And it took him years, I think, in my opinion, to get down to exactly what makes a good comic story. And to do a good story. Since I picked up, I think I said this on air before, I picked up Brave and the Bold that he wrote 6 chapters of. There are 6 real tight short stories, and man, that was good comics. Just incredible stuff. Every story was super memorable, and it was just really, really. I was really one of the big happy finds that I found at Ollie's was that Brave and the Bold collection. It read incredibly well, and it was very entertaining to read all stuff I had never seen before. So, but it takes a while. It takes some practice. You got to write those ugly pages and ugly issues in order to get to the competent ones. The problem is you got to have a competent editor up there to tell you, hey, this isn't how a comic book is paced. You want to go just like a regular short story or a chapter play that you're doing. There has to be some sort of climax at the end of every issue in order to keep the reader wanting to read the next issue. Or else if you don't go anywhere, people aren't going to go anywhere with you. It's just that simple. And there's so many comics out there anymore that just meander, like you were saying with the Superman book, that just go nowhere.
Yeah.
You know,
It's,
they all want to sit around having shawarma burritos or shawarma nachos.
The other thing with the Superman books or any of these titles these days is that a lot of these books are being still cross-pollinated for story arcs. So you're getting not even the whole story in a collection. You got to have Superman and Action Comics to get the whole thing proper.
Well, and an additional problem, they keep stringing around to the next event.
Yep.
So they have to, you have to waste time until we can go from event A over to event B.
Yep.
You know, so I don't know. Have them eating pizza. Who knows?
Yeah. But as for Straczynski, you were saying his first stuff was Babylon 5. That's not exactly correct.
His first comic work.
His first comic book was actually in '87, Teen Titans Spotlight number 13 with Chuck Patton.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he also did Twilight Zone before he did the Babylon 5 comic.
Oh, he might have, but the Babylon 5s that he wrote were just horrible. You could tell
I think that's because he didn't have an editor that could override him. He's the master of Babylon 5 more than anything else. But yeah, he was very wordy on those.
So they were. I remember them being very rough.
Yeah.
Just not remotely enjoyable.
Best artist for that book either.
Huh?
I don't think John Ridgway was the best artist for that series either. That didn't help him. But oh well.
I know you guys have stated before that a person's political leanings or social media post shouldn't influence hireability in the comics space, but I don't want to work with or support a-holes who promote or threaten mass shootings. Frank Stack.
Okay.
I think that
I'm not exactly sure who's actually promoting or threatening mass shootings. Did I miss something? Did I miss a creator saying something about that?
I think what Frank's suggesting is that there are people out there, especially after this last couple of rounds of violence we've had here in the States, who have gone out there and they jumped on pulpits and they said, either, they whatever side they took, and they, excuse me, and what you say on social media now is apparently who you are. Is there a way around that? Probably not. I mean, because we never had. I mean, Stan Lee didn't have to worry about social media when he in the heyday of Marvel Comics.
No, but Stan also had his soapbox, and he did get political at times, just not overly political. It wasn't
right.
The politics wasn't as radical as it is or polarizing as it is today.
Yeah. And I think that what ends up happening is that we have people now that they don't. There's no there's no filter. You get on social media, you type what you want, you say what you want, and then you walk away and you think, okay, I got that off my chest, or maybe you were virtual signaling, I don't know. But you say what you have to say and you walk away and you think that it's not gonna bite you in the ass, and then 4 years later somebody pulls it up and they're like, hey, Varian Grant said that he's he doesn't like the color green. He doesn't like the Arbor Day Foundation. He's not a treeist, and all of a sudden I'm not running up for office anymore. However, I will say this: if my messages some of my personal messages ever went out there in public, I probably would not be able to run for office. I'm a weird guy in personal messages.
That's Richard Meyer's problem right now. He did a bunch of personal tweets that he only intended a few people to, or not tweets, but a video he only intended a few people to see. And somebody took it and went and spread it all over the place. So you have to remember that anything that you put out there on social media is not ever going to disappear. And you have to have a gauge.
Right.
You literally have to watch what you say, because it's so easy to incite or just, if you don't have that switch, you're going to say something.
Yeah.
Handy Volt. I work at the distribution level of the industry. You can guess where. There's trouble in paradise, small cutbacks here and there. The plan is to try to elevate some smaller publishers out of the green section. But the general feeling is it's too late. And to keep her running, it's too late.
And to keep her running until a buyer comes along.
The general feeling is it's too late. And to keep her running until a buyer comes along. Jack the Jeweler, thanks for your email, Jack the Jeweler. But yeah, I was just mentioning to Varian today, I was looking over the Indicron numbers. And back when Diamond literally castrated Arrow Comics and told us what products we could or could not produce, the numbers that we were getting in were higher than the numbers there that Comic-Con is listing in the top 500. And that's personally insulting to me, especially since a couple of these products I thought were professional grade. It's one of the reasons why I stopped trying to deal with Diamond. But as for the trouble in paradise, there's been rumors of trouble in paradise ever since Diamond became the only the only horse in the stable.
Monopoly. Yeah.
Everybody knows they're a monopoly. Everybody knew when they took over that they were a monopoly. Nobody thinks that it's fair. There's always been trouble. There's some wild urban legends that surround Diamond and their wonderful sets of warehouses and their Memphis warehouses. And the thing that got me is every publisher that I ran across, and this was back in the 90s and early 2000s, had a different story of the way that they were being treated by their rep. So now having them all of a sudden realize that there's people that might actually be creative and do decent product in the green section, I agree. It's probably too little, too late. But I just wonder how much of this ties back into market manipulation and some of these viral sites on YouTube going out and talking about what's hot and what's not, and making books valuable, generating false collectability on stuff that a year or 2 years down the road, people will go, why did we buy that book? So-and-so Comic King at this viral channel or whatever, I'm trying not to mention anybody by name, said that the book was pulling $30 raw and $100 slab. So I had to go out and buy 5 copies, Yeah. Everything's all going to settle out to what the true collectability is. The artificial stuff has to be watched. It's all fake, like a variant cover,
Yeah. What do you think about where it says the plan is to elevate some smaller publishers out of the green section?
I've heard about that happening
last 2 years
to different companies. Yeah, the last 2 years. I told you my story. I ran across a rep, one of the Diamond reps locally here, and he saw what I was doing with Flint Comics and told me that I should start putting comics together and resoliciting through Diamond again. And I went, no, because you guys make more money off of me than I do. So, if that situation were to change, or they were actually to go out and promote some of these independent guys, and not be playing favorites, then it would be a different story. But it's still, with them being the only game in town, it opens them up for favoritism and lobbying and who knows what else. That system has got to be overhauled. And maybe a new owner, maybe if they were to sell out to a new owner, it might happen. Maybe if a couple of distributors were to actually get brave enough and go out there and start distributing, who knows? They might need to go bankrupt. I couldn't, it's hard to tell. I have no idea where this market is going, because every year it looks thinner and thinner. So, but yeah, trying to make themselves look good until they find some gullible slump to buy the distribution in. Go.
That strikes me as
I guess.
I think there would be a seismic shift in comics if that were to happen. I mean,
remember that Steve Geppi is getting up there in age. He's not going to be around that much longer, probably.
And don't forget that classic line by Sarah Palin. You can't put lipstick on a pig. There are people, like I said, that spank the monkey on the comic market. When there's a problem like that, people are going to figure out a way to get around it, whether it's on the web or whether it's printing your own newspaper, whether it's crowdfunding. There's going to be a way. There's going to be a system that's going to jump out here. Crowdfunding seems to be today's new jump out point to attract, people and get around that diamond problem. Whenever there's a problem, the market, the art form is going to survive. The market might not survive. But there's going to be an artist out there who figures out how to do words and pictures and how to promote that and get it out in front of the masses and make himself some money. It's just a matter of time.
I think that
the old system is outdated. The new system will spring up.
Let's see what we have here. Because that's all for the questions. I want to thank Jack the Jeweler for his question too. Appreciate
those are
awesome
questions.
Let me get my links here together because we have we're gonna have Ted in soon, who will.
You think we answered Frank well enough?
I think so. 1 second, I will. Hold on, give me 1 minute. I'm sorry, I'm doing a lot of technical stuff on the other side that I've never did before, so please forgive me, guys. Hold on. Oh, there we go.
Tech stuff. Let's see if this works.
Yeah, all right. And while I'm doing that, I do want to remind our lovely viewers. Hold on 1 second, because I've been preparing this.
What about our sponsor? Or is that just for the morning show?
That's just for the morning show. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this week's sponsoring, Ted seems to think that we're being sponsored by Glow. And I would say we're actually being sponsored by.
That's a floor polish.
Yeah, I think it's special effects from Thor Ragnarok, isn't it?
Well, this. No,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where it's from. It's just.
It just reminds me of the space travel effect there for some reason. I don't know.
I do want to remind our viewers that
it's an after evening drink. It's a floor polish.
that they can listen to us live on Indie Vote Radio. Indie Vote Radio is available on Google Play as well as the Streamer app if you have iOS, an Apple phone. You download the Streamer app and look for Indie Vote Radio. And if you have Google, you can find the Indie Vote Radio app there as well. Indie Vote Radio streams 24 hours, 7 days a week. Lots of indie music as well as interviews and content from indie curators. It is a free app, so it's totally free, nothing to pay. It's free for now, so I decided that I want some money. Yeah,
you'll be amazed at the quality.
Yeah.
On that program, just pop it up and start listening.
Yeah, right now we got we average about 800 to 900 listeners a day. So it's growing. So be a part of that growth. Check us out again, Indie Vote Radio on Google Play and on the Streamer app on iOS. Also, so I got bills to pay, fellas. Bills to pay. You can also, if you're not a radio person, and if you're not, that's fine. On the Roku, you can find Indie Vote TV, which is also free. And it's an OTT network, so basically Netflix, both indie movies. Movies like Becoming the Reaper, Pop of Zero, and a lot more coming very, very soon. So if you're, a movie guy, we're going to eventually put UFO Files, Otis the UFO Files up there. That's coming soon. I'm gonna make sure it happens. But it's free. It's on the Roku. If you have a Roku, just go into your search feature there, type in Indie Vote TV. Once you download it, as you write in, there's actually some of these are some of our content from conventions is on there right now. When we update it at least once a week, so make sure you get on and check that out. And if you do, shoot us a link here, a message here. Let us know at IndieVote Live at indievote.com. Let us know how you like it and what you'd like to see on the network. You know,
Back to the program. I see we've got 14 people watching us as we speak.
yeah.
So welcome all 14 of you. There's only 9 likes down there, so hit that thumbs up if you're enjoying this program.
Yeah,
It all goes to help our algorithms.
Yes, it does. Our algorithm, and if you want to tune in again, you can hit that subscribe button. We go live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. and every Thursday morning.
As long as the equipment's good.
Oh yeah, and Thursday morning at 9 a.m. as long as I'm awake.
Gotta wake you up.
Yeah. So guys, let's bring Ted on in here. Ted's backstage. We're gonna bring Ted in. He wants to talk about his book Retrieve. Let's see here. Ted. Hey. How's it going, Ted? How's it going? So Ted has a book called Retrieve. I don't have any of the art pulled up for it right now, but Ted, your book is out this weekend. It's debuting at Michigan Comic-Con. What is it? Cobo Hall, which won't be Cobo Hall in a couple of weeks.
What's the name of the place?
They're changing it to the TCF Convention Center. The bank, the bank bought it, and so they're changing.
TCF,
yeah, TCF Bank bought it because they're merging with another bank, and
we're making it a little bit more politically correct.
Yeah. So yeah, they said they want to get the Kobo name off of there because he was a devout racist. So yeah, they're getting rid of it.
Call it Kobo Call place, but they running down.
Yeah, I thought they should just call it the Detroit Convention Center, something like that. But apparently they want to put their name on there. So I get it. Okay,
why do that when you can have somebody to pay to get their name on there?
Yeah.
Make that money.
Milk
that cow.
Yeah, I'm going to change the name of Flint Comic Con to the Varian Grant Memorial Comic Con, even though I'm still alive. So Ted, this is your first Comic Con with a comic to sell.
Correct.
Right.
So it's the first of many books that are going to be coming out. So,
are you nervous? Are you excited? How's it feel?
I'm excited. Once it's in hands, a little bit different. I know the pre-orders have been going well. I've got a lot of support across the country, which is very reassuring, as I've shared with you. And it's just got back from Raleigh, North Carolina, and there's been a big buzz down there. So that was quite exciting. I wasn't expecting that family event, and there was just a lot of people that were interested to hear about the story, the publisher, the whole concept of the comic, and so it was good. So all of you might be getting some information or some people hitting your websites real soon with checking you guys out online too. So
are you with the book out, with the book debuting, have you worked on your pitch yet? I will refresh our viewers who weren't here when you were on last. Tell us a bit about Retrieve.
Sure. Well, Retrieve is about two brothers, two doctors of they're actually doctors of physics, and they have come up with an algorithm to track the human soul. And what that means in the story is they have an idea that the soul, when the person dies here, the soul moves on, and then in a certain amount of time it comes back to the earth plane, and their idea is to track that soul, find out what it was in a past life, and if it was a criminal that was never brought to justice, to regress that soul and to work justice in this lifetime for sins that weren't accounted for in the past life.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm looking to see if I can bring up some All right, I believe I have the cover here.
Good.
I think that's the cover. Yeah, I think it's the cover. Okay. All right. So yeah, there's a cover to retrieve.
Yeah, there we go.
And that's the one of the characters, Archimedes, there on the cover. Now, are you well, again, this being your first book, you can't go home again. When you go up, when you're on that side of the table,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I know that for me personally, my first book ever, I was warned by a gentleman who told me, it changed that you're not on that, you're not a customer anymore, and there are days I wish I can go back.
It
Yeah,
gets into the blood.
yeah,
I'm telling you.
yeah. It gets
Yeah.
into the blood, and you don't want to. All of a sudden, now every time there's a con that comes around, you got to be there, and
Yeah.
and-
Well, what a burden to have. I think we're all very fortunate to be part of the whole comic. If you want to call it lifestyle or ideal, I think that's we're bringing a lot of joy to people, and I think that's a pretty awesome thing. And to maybe make a few dollars doing it, even better.
yeah.
So we can entertain and get people reading and thinking. It's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. I think that and your book is pretty deep, has a deep message. I think that let's see, make sure that I don't think I have any other pictures from it. Uh let's see here. Right, there we go. Yeah, I think that with your book now, again, how long are you working on Retrieve?
Well, I've been as far as physically working on the book probably for about the last 8 months, but as far as writing the book, it's been about 3 years. So I had Retrieve the concept for Retrieve about 4 years ago, and I finally worked through the first arc is a small sample of the full story. And like you were saying, Archimedes is quite a character that's going to be built in this world. The two brothers create an AI that's Archimedes is his name, and or its name, I should say, and it warrants a catalyst for a lot of good humor, a lot of thought-provoking uh, versions of how the story is going to go. So, but yeah, I've been working for about 3 years on it. We did everything in watercolor and ink. So it's a different type of comic book. It's an artist book versus a streamlined digital comic. So it'll be different when you look at it. It'll be different. It'll be a different, just the whole visual will be different than what most people are used to, and that's a good thing. That was meant designed.
How long did it take you to put I know you said it took you 3 years to put the book together, but how long from the point where you started pencil to paper drawing it, how long did it take you?
I want to say 8 months.
Okay.
8 months total. I don't think. I think that was. I think that I've already been working on the second book. I think that's probably going to end up taking. Literally, it's when rubber meets the road. It's going to take about 8 weeks to get everything down now for the next books as they roll out. Because it's just I've got a process now. I know where it's going and what the color formats are going to be, and my publishers, dynamic of what they need, and then what the printer needs and so forth. So it's just it's more of a just a learning curve. Like Randy said, you learn so much from the first book compared to when you look back on it, say 6 months from now, it'll be a completely different experience. So
You'll look back on this 6 months and wonder why you ever put a comic out. I think that it's interesting, and we'll have to have you back, to let us know how your first experience at a con was, because again, I mean, that first time you go to a show, I gotta tell you, my first time, I went in, I had a cardboard box about maybe that big, probably about 11 inches long, maybe about 7 inches tall. Just a cardboard box, and I had a dollar store tablecloth in there. It was red. I still remember it was red. I had some flyers. I think I had like a couple copies of our first book we had done, and I set it out there, and it was a I had no backdrop. The guy behind me had a backdrop, a very big backdrop, and I learned, and I had a lot of people that gave me advice. Randy actually gave me some advice for the first couple cons that I did.
I still don't have a modern backdrop.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
I need one. I'll have to get one.
Yeah. You know what I was told, and I mean maybe our viewers. There are a lot of people out there right now. I was talking to my I have a convention to do very soon here, and I was getting some prints made, and I was told that I was inquiring as to why the banners, the 6-foot banners, have decreased in price lately. They used to be anywhere between $300 $350.
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing them drop as low as $130. And my printer told me, he says they have different grades of those those banners.
Vinyls.
Yeah, and he says those retractable banners. And what they have is that they actually rate them by pools. How many pools they're good for? 50 pools, 100 pools, 200 pools. Like a 100 pool retractable banner. The people who make them assume that you're going to get through about 2 to 3 years of conventions with 100 pools. Whereas the 50, is like the cheapest, or 25 is like the cheapest. So he was telling me to be very aware of what I'm paying, because you might be getting, one that's only rated for 25 to 30 pools.
Model. Well, I mean, I think you get what you pay for too. I mean, these are, you want to do your homework on it. We ended up getting a on order now, a retractable with aluminum, and I mean, it's a full gamut. But it's it's all relative. I mean, you have to go with what you can afford.
Oh yeah.
What for anybody that's doing books, you're not an author without a book in hand. So you make sure that make sure everything's make sure you have books.
Put some money aside for your banner.
More than 25 at a time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, more than 25 at a time. You don't want
to. Just bring a small box so that you always sell out.
I mean, it is good to sell out, but let's be realistic. Let's sell out.
Wait a minute.
Sell out with the big numbers. So, and you know what? It's not even about selling out. Let's just have a good experience and have people enjoy stories. I mean, that's that's it. Sequential art is the medium that we all embrace, and I think that 20 minutes reading can change somebody's perspective on things. It's a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah, it is. I know that I personally have had people come to me at cons after they bought my book. They come back and they tell me, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and that does something for you. That makes you want to draw the next 4 books right there on the spot.
Nothing beats that little bit of head expansion when somebody tells you how much they liked your book.
Yeah, that's always, it's always good. And then there's also
sweetens the pie a little bit. Yeah, absolutely.
Now your book is what age group would you say your book is for?
Well, I think that I like to think myself as a mature child, but I doubt I was. I think that it really depends on parents. I mean, you look at as the story is going to progress, you're going to probably want to get into a teenage mindset. I don't think it's probably meant for any kids younger than 11, most likely.
Okay.
It's a structured book where it deals with a lot of it deals with reincarnation, it deals with death, it deals with
mature themes.
Yeah, very mature, and not to be graphic. It's not in that respect, but just the concepts. I don't want to scare anybody, thinking that this is. But I would definitely say 11 years or older.
Okay. Now, your book, when it does I know you said issue 2. How long do you see this as a story that's going to continue, or are you wrapping it up at some point?
Well, I think that the first arc, the first 5 books, will be the introduction to the Archimedes computer AI, exactly what it can do and what the world, how it accepts it. I think that the storyline as it goes on, I think you're going to see Archimedes develop. The one thing about evolution is human beings evolve, souls evolve. AI will evolve eventually too. And I think that when you look at the future of that, it can be scary or it can be, I heard a story once that you have to be human first before you can be inhuman. And I think that that's something that in the storyline, Archimedes, you're going to see future down the road, the next series. He's definitely going to be a little bit more developed as an AI, to where beings sometimes develop just by nature. And I think we might learn more about our humanity through Archimedes than a lot of people think. So.
No, it does. I wonder if now you said people are they're able to go get the book right now. They can pre-order it.
Yes, they can pre-order it. I think they've got the link on there, on the last call link. I don't know.
I'll try to post it for you.
Throw it in the chat. Throw it in the chat. Yeah. Put it on your notes underneath the video there.
Yeah.
So it'll always be associated with the video.
Yeah. Sure. I will post it under there, and I'll post it in the link I'll post the link in the chat where they can go, and
we'd love to see you at the Midway Comic-Con as well. If you're going to be down there, please stop by and get to meet me, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the story, and we'll get those comics signed for you. And there's a lot of different ways we can do it. So
might you be doing some free sketches down there, perhaps? Maybe.
Yes, I will. Maybe a bookmark or two. Yeah, might be a bookmark or two in the near future for a few of my select few.
Ted, question.
Yeah.
You're in Tawas, correct?
Correct.
Michigan.
Correct.
Yes. I don't know what. I used to live up by Greenbush, so you know where that's at. And
right up 23. Yep.
So anyway, what comic shops are around there for you to market to these days? I mean, I know there's one up in Alpena, but that's the one I know of anymore.
I'll give a shout out to John Cashman down in Bay City. He's awesome. He's one of the best. I dealt with him for a little over a year now. He's fantastic.
He has an awesome shop.
Well, he does, and I know Randy knows John, and that's the mainstay as far as Bay City for me. It's about 50 miles away. The internet's
50. You're not that far away from there, are you?
Oh, usually.
No, I think so. I think I am. I think I'm about 55 miles. I think. So,
where are you in regards to Standish?
Standish for about 40 minutes.
Oh,
30
okay.
minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
We're not that far, but when you it's a good question, by the way. One of the things that we were looking at, there's a lot of stores up here that are there's one store in West Branch. It was a comic book store about 3 months ago. Now it's a relic store, but they sell all kinds of old comic books, and they just don't sell new stuff. They bring in, they buy things from garage sales and sales. So that's kind of a big thing. It's all relative. I mean, it's prime market here for a comic book store. But like you said, there's one in Alpena. I've never been to that one, but the biggest one that I dealt with is John. We'll be mainly hitting a lot of the Comic-Con circuit, but the majority of this, I don't necessarily think Retrieve is going to be just in comic book stores. I've got coffee shops that actually have asked me to come and bring the book there. 5 or 6 copies, 10 copies, and I think that's the big thing. You're seeing about disposability, Randy.
Yeah.
If you buy a $4 book, or what if I they buy a few, and this might be a concept too. You know, the one thing that I looked at, there are Dollar Generals all over the place. There are more Dollar Generals, I think, than waves on Lake Huron at sometimes, because there's so many Dollar Generals.
Yeah,
Samedi
Samedi from Alterna was just talking about that on tweets a couple months ago. But yeah, you're right.
But like you were saying, I don't necessarily want retrieve tacked above a urinal, but I'll take it. You know what? If they're reading it, fantastic.
Yeah, that's the whole idea.
But I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell any comic book short by how many comic book, how many comic book stores are in the area. There are some awesome ones, but I think that the art, I think it's, I was looking at what is it? The book Chicken Soup for the Soul. Those type of books.
Mm-hmm.
The storyline in that was the author ended up getting a spiral turnabout like what Randy's got behind him, has all the comics on it.
Mm-hmm.
And he knocked his prices down from like $5 a copy to I think $1.25, and he jumped up to $500,000 or 500,000 copies within months. So there's got to be a way so that it's not just comic book stores that are going to house my type of book. Even though it's, So
the farther north in Michigan you go, the more you see bookstores also.
Yeah.
Because of the cold climate. People like reading more than, they have bad satellite signal or whatever.
And as the books roll out, a trade, I'm sure that my publisher will put a trade together of many books together. And, maybe we'll do a beach version. Maybe it'll be a laminate or something. Maybe there might be something to it. It might be a way that we can market towards that. So there's all kinds of options. That's the beauty of.
If you can get in the Dollar General, that's a good one. They got over 15,000 stores nationwide.
I mean,
I think Peter's been trying to get into that for a while.
Yeah, and that could be something. Maybe who knows? Maybe Retrieve will end up being at Ollie's in a couple of years. Who knows? But you know what? That means more people will read it. Yeah. And you know what? If I order, great. If I make 10 cents, great. But if people are getting inspired and maybe somebody else picks up a comic book that maybe you guys wrote, great. And then I did my job.
Now, you with this book now being, it's coming out. I have to ask, have you prepared yourself for signing autographs? Do you have a signature set up already?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm all set.
I did not have that.
Now. We're ready. I've got the markers, and I'm ready. The books in front of me, and I've got to say, there's the response has been just awesome. I've had the one that you were saying earlier. It's redeeming. All the time you spend in the thought and trying to, is this going to work? Is this going to be right? People are going to get this, or having somebody say, you know what, you should be so proud of yourself for what you've gone through, or how many people are backing you, and how much time people have taken just to give props or take 5 minutes and say, hey, I'm really interested in this book. That's so worth it. That is it's humbling. It's humbling. And I appreciate you guys and what you do. Thank you for having me on and that, and getting a few minutes in. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We're gonna let you go so that I know you got a lot of work to do. You got a lot of con prep to do.
Yes.
I'm glad your connection worked out better this time than the last time we talked.
Yeah.
I'm wearing tinfoil underneath this shirt. I got tinfoil.
Awesome. Whatever works.
Right.
Get that kid outside with the rabbit ears.
Right. No doubt. Yeah. Grab it to the dog's tail, have him run.
We'll steal Paul Bunyan out of Furpaw Field out of Bosco. They want to tear it down anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
A little more to the left, Jimmy.
All right, we'll see you guys. Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming on.
See you.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
Yep.
Now I know you're planning on doing Monroe on the 14th of September. Is Ted going to make it to Monroe or to Flint?
I'm not sure where Ted is going yet. I think I think Ted's doing. I don't know. I'm not sure which. I don't have.
Figure out which one, because I need to do another poster here real quick. Tomorrow's the 14th. We're only a month away.
Okay.
So I'll advertise him as a guest if he's coming.
Okay. Excuse me.
I might that might, make him happy, add more to his experience.
Yeah. So guys, we got to talk about this. There are indie publishers everywhere saying that they do not believe that comic cons are important for indie publishers or even a viable resource for indie publishers going forward. I know, Lewis, you have some very strong thoughts on this. So I'm going to let you go first. But I do want to say that. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
I do want to say that I did reach out to a few promoters of conventions over the week when we announced this is going to be the theme of today's show. And a lot of them, didn't get back to me enough time. Mark Hodges, who runs the Grand Rapids Comic Con, did get back to me. He could not come on. Said we're going to try to get him to help him get his gear set up. But he did issue a statement. So I'm going to read his statement.
Yeah, share the statement.
All right. Let me see here. Let me bring up his statement. All right.
Did you ask him to state it in 90 words or less?
I did not. So again, I asked him about the growing idea in the indie comics publishing community that we don't need Comic-Con anymore. And Mark Hodges, again, the promoter, co-promoter, or co-owner of Grand Rapids Comic-Con.
Yep. Grand Rapids Comic-Con, one of the big shows in Michigan.
Right. He says, I would say, sure, any artist can advertise however they wish. Ads, banners, or on websites, Facebook, Twitter, social media cons. They can advertise however they wish. And no, they don't have to use conventions to promote their work. The question here is the wisdom of whether or not to discontinue conventions, because ultimately it is the best way to make a direct contact with your fan base. It may be old school, but people naturally connect with face-to-face communication. It makes the book and the purchase more personal and intimate. Conventions are also a very important networking tool. I lose my shirt financially at C2E2 every year, but the trip is an absolute must on my calendar because that is the main place I make numerous business connections, potential vendors, passing out advertising, and so on. The question my wife and I wrestle with every year is this: is the show worth attending? My personal feeling is absolutely for the long-term impact on the company and our business. And I think a lot of artists don't think long-term when they plan out how they are going to expand their careers. There is too much attention centered on now when the long run also needs to be considered. Yes, how your business is impacted now is important, but also you have to consider the economic impact on you 5 years from now as well. A lot of artists don't understand that self-employment requires due diligence, a lot more work than a 9-to-5 job, and sacrifice in order for the dream of being the next DC or Marvel star to happen. Conventions have a lot of long-term impact: contacts, connections, being seen by the right people, exposure, later selling prints as a result of the appearance, commissions. Artists have to remember that their careers aren't built in a vacuum, that they are the accumulation of years of decisions on growing their brand name and how they choose to do so. I don't think, though, that every artist needs to tour relentlessly, like, say, Terry Huddleston or Dirk Manning. It really depends on the person and what they want to do with their artwork. For example, I met a lot of artists, mostly anime shows, who are just doing their art while they're going to college and only plan on being out there for a few years before they move on to working for the man, marriage, children, and general adulthood. That kind of artist should just do what they want to do and not worry too much about the long term, as there isn't a long-term plan to begin with. Do the shows you wish to do, if any, and have a good time with it. Now, a situation like Comfort Adam or Terry Huddleston, this is a completely different animal. They are extroverts who want to make a living as artists, and in those cases, I would consider life on the road to be imperative for them. I want to take the time to thank my parents sent me to private school. That was private school reading right there. You guys heard. Give it up for me. Give it up for me. Give it up for me. That's right.
And I believe Mark Hodges is in the chat. At least somebody
he
that
is.
says GR Comic Con
He is. There he is.
is available.
Mm-hmm. There he is. Thanks, Mark, for joining us in the chat. We really appreciate it. So, guys, what do you think, Lewis? And I got some notes up here I wrote too above me about some of the things that I heard people say about Comic-Con. Lewis, you want me to go first? I don't want to stump on you if you're.
Well, first off, let me just say that I appreciate everything that Hodges said. Very articulate, very well spoken, very reasonably well thought out. I don't really have anything to assail there, I guess you could say. I think he's well reasoned. So we'll address his stuff in a little bit.
Okay.
You said you had some things that you wanted to address.
Yeah. Some of the things when I talk to artists and they're complaining about a show and they're complaining and saying, man, I make more money doing my comics online or selling them online, or they can pair it to the crowdfunding. I know a lot of people say that Ethan and some of the guys who have on his show can make 30 grand from their computer desk. I think people complain about prices for celebrity autographs. It costs $200 to go take a picture with Jason Momoa, and then by the time they get to Artist Alley, people are like, I'm broke, I don't have any money left. I've seen that at the larger shows myself, but then again, it's like, well, I mean, no one tells you to get out when you don't have any money left, unless you're Greg Wright. Sorry, I gotta send a jab at Greg. But I have no problem with that. You paid your ticket price. You are welcome to walk around the show for the rest of the that 3 days if you want, not spend a dime, and that's fine. But I've heard complaints that it costs too much to get in, and then the celebrity autographs cost a lot of money as well.
But what does that got to do with the creator?
Well, the creator says by the time the fan gets to them, the attendee gets to them, they don't have any money.
I understand that, but that has nothing to do with the cost for the creator. And I'm saying, the fact that it's costing a person to spend that amount of money for a photo, that's their choice. They have the choice to pick, do you want to buy this person's artwork or comic, or do you want to go for this experience or that experience? And that's up to the option of the consumer. So that's not something that we as creators need to be griping about per se, as okay, if we're here, we deserve to be equally represented and supported by the promoters. And the problem in that, I'm not saying it's a situation with Grand Rapids. It's not a situation with Randy's shows, but a lot of shows, they treat the creators like third-class citizens and put them in a back room somewhere that's completely away from the vendors, completely away from everything else, so that half the time the audience doesn't even know that they're even there.
The other thing is that I got told, exhibitor, you can't as a publisher like me. I'm an artist as well, but I have a publishing company and I put out other people's books. Well, I've heard people say you can't be an Artist Alley. You need to have an exhibitor booth. So now an Artist Alley table may cost me $450 at a certain show.
Right. But the
exhibitor booth is $800 to $900.
Right.
Now, wait a minute. Whoa. Now, if I'm from out of state, I'm already $1,000 basically coming to the show in the hole. Now I got to get a hotel room for $200-$300.
Food.
So food. I'm looking at a $1,500 expense here to come out with my book, and then if you got to get badges for your help, you're at $1,600-$1,700. That's one of the other complaints that I heard, and that I hear, and one that I kind of share. Like, wow, man, that's exhibitor booth is gonna be. I don't mind paying $500 for an exhibitor booth because that's what our side table is $400, $450. Not a Randy show.
Well, first of all, no Artist Alley's table should ever cost that much money. I don't care what show it is.
Every show is different. You know, every show charges what they want, and
Sure, they do.
you know, admission for that.
Cost that ridiculous amount. I would.
Yeah.
But then again, that's up to the creator. You have
Yeah.
a choice. Do you want to
Mhm.
spend that much money to be there or not? There's shows that are affordable to go to. You
Now,
can pay for 'em.
Lewis, you said that you don't like being stuck in the back rooms.
Mhm.
I've heard that from vendors. I've heard that from vendors guys who had toys. They told me they did a wizard show and they were actually like in a sub room. They felt like around a corner. You would have actually had to have come in there and like had known the layout of the convention center to find the room they were in.
Right.
What's the furthest you ever been put back? Like, have you ever been put in a room that was sectioned off from the rest of the con? Like way back?
It happens all the time.
Mhm.
Not just to me, but to a lot of artists. It just depends on the layout of where the venues, set up.
Randy, I'm sorry.
Because I've been in. I mean, let's see. They had one hotel where it was a gaming and manga and comic show, and all the creators were 800 yards from the main area.
Mm-hmm.
And we had one long alley that was like a corner alley thing that they normally would have set up for the meeting rooms.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they were the meeting rooms, and we had like 18 artists and all the 4 meeting rooms, and we'd get all our little panels across the hall, across the aisleway from where our tables were set.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing good about that was, okay, yeah, if I need to leave my panel to go handle some business, I could do that.
Mark, I see you said we charge $135. Is that for an artist? That's for an artist alley table, correct? I believe it is, but I just want to make sure. $135 is what the artist alley tables are. Randy, we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much you want to say.
For what?
But for the show that you did in Saginaw.
Yeah. What about it?
Because there are some the promoters sometimes, and this is just maybe I'm spitballing here. Lewis can jump down my throat if I'm wrong. But sometimes the promoters, it's not greed. It's they're being shook down by these convention center
Absolutely.
owners as well.
Because sometimes,
the venues,
the venue, because they hear that Comic-Con is coming to town, and in their minds, oh, wait a minute, Comic-Con brings in millions of people. Randy got a bunch of press on.
I got
TV.
some awesome press because the marketplace said Comic-Con is coming to Saginaw.
Right.
Boom. TV station was right there that day doing a live remote. Comic-Con's coming to Saginaw.
Yeah, they thought
Started getting calls from Hollywood agents and all sorts of stuff. It was interesting.
They thought the Comic-Con was coming to San Diego Comic-Con was coming down to.
It was coming to Saturday.
I don't want to say too much about that because then San Diego's going to go, oh look, the words Comic-Con, we own it. So anybody who's got Comic-Con in their at their show has got to remove it or change it or whatever.
So now so let's say I own.
It was a misunderstanding. We quickly corrected, by the way.
Let's say I own a center. I own a venue, and I reach out and Mark wants to do a show at my center, and he says, I want to do Comic-Con. Well, I get to rub my little hands together because now, that room usually costs $3,000, but I'm gonna need $6,000 from this guy because he's gonna make all types of money.
Yeah.
And and now Mark has to put up $6,000. Now he wants to make a return on his investment.
Sure.
And then some of the rules that come with this as well. Now, that's not to say as well that there aren't some bad promoters out there. There are some bad promoters out there. There are some people who just want to make a quick buck. They think, okay, well, Comic-Con, everybody, they walk into a Comic-Con, man, I could do one of these. I got a free room at my job I can use.
There's people that pull 10% off of everybody's artist alley table too.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of different. Everybody does their show different. You just have to go through and wade through it. Is it going to be worth your money, especially if you're a smaller publisher? You can't get great shows. The big thing about Mark's show is that it's all one big room. It's pretty much all very accessible, and I mean it's a big room.
Mhm.
And it's awesome because everybody's all you got to do is walk around. You'll see everything.
I might get in trouble for saying this, but it's a big, nice room.
It's
A big, nice room.
Nice room.
Yeah. It's a big, nice room. Some conventions don't have nice rooms like that. They're
No.
big, but they don't have nice rooms.
Yeah.
Mark says, "Woo!"
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Is that $999? I can't say.
Oh man. Yeah.
Say $100,000.
Yeah, they pay $100,000 for a facility for 4 days. Does not include tables, chairs, pie. No pie. I know you
No
need
pie.
I know you
Damn
need
it.
pie. Yeah.
Pipe.
No pie. No
That's
pie. I'm
probably
out of
pipe.
here.
Pipe drape. He
Yeah.
probably means pipe drape.
Yeah. Labor union, etc.
Mhm.
Um.
That's another $30,000 probably.
At least.
So wow, $100,000. We have hard numbers here. We have hard numbers.
That's why I like doing little one-day shows in farmers markets.
Can you give him a candy bar? I got $100,000.
It doesn't nearly cost that much. So, yeah, wow. But it's an awesome show though, and it's a big haul.
But you're talking
Like I
about
said,
a
it's a big one.
4-day show. It's going to cost that much.
Yeah.
On average. And you know, again, you know, I've never been to Grand Rapids. I don't know anything about his show. You guys know it more than me. But I presume that Mark or Hodges, is it Mark Hodges? Is his name?
Mark Hodges. Yeah.
Okay. I am going to presume that Mark takes the time to support his local community artists and doesn't exclude them like they do here in Columbia.
No.
We just had a show last weekend. Roy Thomas is a regular attendee. Wasn't invited this year. Mike Hoffman, not invited. Me, they got the show 3 years. I've never been invited. Thor Thorvaldson, as far as I know, wasn't there. He does Tales of Marja and other stuff for various manga.
I only get invited to one Detroit show anymore.
Yeah.
So
But you're also running a show locally, your own.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a situation where, okay, if you're going to bring in all these other celebrities, those all cost more money on top of all the other stuff that Mark was mentioning.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That's why they're charging $400 a table because they got to pay that fee for that appearance for that star.
Yep. And the high price for admission.
Got to pay that fee, right?
Or
And
a higher price for admission. Yeah.
yeah, and they don't want to charge the admission, so they charge us, the creators, and that's what's killing our bottom line, and that's what's making people go, well, why should we even bother coming to these shows anymore? The next thing you know, there's no creators at the show to speak of, just your cosplay and your media stars. And that's what this whole thing is about. You know, if it's supposed to be about comics creators, you know, you got to have your first thing is take care of your local talent first, and then everybody else on top of that. You know, in my opinion. Now, maybe I'm wrong to feel that way. I don't know, but that's how.
I don't think Motor City's done that for like the last 7 years.
Right, I
They
understand.
don't take care of their locals. Union's about $13,000, pipe drape about $36,000.
Wow, he's probably talking a lot more money than I thought he was talking.
It's probably
He's probably talking about $250,000 to run the show then.
Right. So we invite Vince Locke, Comfort and Adams, Scepter Moose, Dead Man Inc., Scott Roseman every year, and we pay them for gas, food, etc.
Done, Mark. That is the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of shows, like I say, here in Columbia, you know, the people that live right here in town aren't at the show because they, well, you don't matter. It's more important for me to go get Michael Rooker, who played Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, whatever, you know.
Michael Rooker likes to hold my wife's hand at 2 different conventions. 2 different conventions, like several months apart.
Budget $650K.
Yeah. Can I borrow $5, Mark? I'm just saying. I will say this too. And Mark, I know that
how many people does he get in? You know, what's his attendance for that show?
Oh, it's big. I couldn't tell you the exact number, but it's,
Well, he
it's
did
big.
the show. It's his show.
Yeah. I mean, he gets. I know that. I was so glad that I had a badge because I was helping a buddy of mine last year or year before last, and I actually got a chance to he came out and gave me the badges because the line was out the building and wrapped around like toward the parking structure. So I was very glad that I got a chance to get in there and kind of jump the line.
Yeah, his first Grand Rapids Con was in a school gymnasium,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a lot of people who had attended that show compare our Saginaw show to that.
Louis, did you lose your camera?
The crowd was so big.
No, I'm taking care of something that I didn't want you guys seeing. That's all.
Oh, okay, all right. Says
After 10 o'clock.
yeah, yeah, that's 10 o'clock. Yeah.
No, I had a problem with my ear.
29,000. Last year our turnstile was 29,000. I have a ticket master report to prove it.
Oh, that's fine. That's fair. That's totally fair.
Now, Mark, are you this is just, you don't have to tell us, but have you been approached to sell the convention? Has anybody approached you to try to buy it? Because I know that other conventions have been approached. When one of the big companies isn't here, they kind of come into the city and they'll ask the state and they'll ask, hey, who's got the bigger cons? And they'll approach them and offer them, a couple mil to buy the show. Sometimes, I mean, they'll offer some money.
Said yes.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. So what's the, and Mark already said that
his con actually generates funds, unlike that distributor that's trying to look good until they can get a buyer.
anyway.
Well,
Louis,
not interested in selling for about 10 years, having too much fun right now. I can see that.
Louis, do you think that Comic-Con, period, the idea of the Comic-Con is important for the future of indie comics?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason that people are thinking that it's not important anymore is because of what we're doing with social media, particularly with what's going on with Comicsgate and Ethan Van Sciver and your boy Zach and all these super chats. They're considering that the same equivalent as the personal interaction that you would get at a convention.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, when we do this daily chat type stuff that we're doing on here, that's time that we're not at the work table working on a book. So you can't do that constantly without it affecting your work. Conventions are set times aside that we come to promote and to interact. You can't, if we had to do a convention every day, think about it. Go back to 1992 when Image was formed, and the Image partners were all over at every convention. Their books were months and months and months late. Why? Because they weren't doing the work, because they were promoting and interacting with their fan base. You have to balance the two. If you're going to do that on the internet, you still got to take time to be away from the internet to do that. And that's where people are misaligning and saying, well, if I just do everything online, I don't have to worry about it. I'll have an audience base. It doesn't work like that. You got to balance the two and have a product before you worry about being online as well. It's a balance between the two. And that also includes going to conventions, because yes, there are people online that are going to know who you are through social media, but that only goes so far as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great for, like, okay, I can't get up to Grand Rapids. I can't get up to the Flint because I'm down here in South Carolina. Okay, it's good for me to be here on Indie Volt to promote a little bit about myself or something like that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, here in exactly, yeah, they're not Ethan Van Sciver. And the reason, and again, Ethan wouldn't be Ethan if he didn't have Jeff Johns backing him for all those years at DC. Let's be honest.
No, not at all. I totally disagree with that.
Well,
Ethan's presence on YouTube has nothing to do with John's other than the fact that he worked with him on Green Lantern. Nothing. Ethan spent the last year and a half building up his YouTube to make the notoriety that he's got now. I can almost his reputation on DC is one thing, but his YouTube presence is a whole different animal. That's why he's as big as he is because he's feeding off of both of those.
Well, he wouldn't have a YouTube presence if he didn't have the DC presence to build from.
No, you're absolutely wrong again. He's got the YouTube presence because he's been up there and performing for the last 2 years, talking about different things. Well, not just because he's got a DC thing. The DC thing was just to start. In fact, DC wanted him to stop his YouTube channel. He told him no. That was one of the reasons why he left.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was getting a lot of notoriety.
I worked with him at DC after Jeff left. Okay.
You what?
I don't think anybody wanted to work with him at DC after Jeff left.
He is branded a pariah. That's why.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. He had no choice but to go to YouTube.
No, he had plenty of choices. He just decided not to. They asked him to stop his YouTube channel. He said no.
Well,
he wasn't going to do it because he was building an audience.
Sure, that's fine. But I'm saying he wouldn't have had an audience.
He's built that audience over the last couple of years.
All right, it's my that was the DC
DC's been a very small part of it. His reputation as an artist that he's built up since then has been a major part of it.
Yeah.
Well, okay. And Randy, same question. Our Comic Con. I'm sorry, Louis. I gotta get.
Oh, that's fine.
Are Comic Cons essential to indie comics going forward?
I think they're an essential part of it. Yeah. That you need to get out there and you need to have, just like what Mark Hodges said, you need to have that personal attention. You need to meet people. You need to go out there and impress the flesh and get to know people, and have people get to know you. It's that one-on-one experience that's going to endear you to your audience.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do that. That's YouTube's part of it, but that YouTube doesn't replace people actually seeing you face to face.
And then Mark said, yes, but he started with a lot of notoriety. Agree with that. He is feeding off of the YouTube presence. I do not believe that we're totally get rid of Comic Cons, and nor should we want to. Nor should we.
No, we should want to get rid of them.
Now, I can see, and I think everybody in the room can see where there's going to be a divide if things don't course correct very soon about which Comic Cons you can go to. When
it comes to Van Sciver, the reason he doesn't want to do conventions right now is because he's had so many threats because of his political standing that he doesn't want to take the chance. So it's easier for him to sit behind a microphone and then turn around and the work table is right there. And he's able to work all day, or all night. He's had enough physical threats on his person that, he doesn't see the profitability in it, at the moment. When he went and did the Star Wars celebration, he was nervous the whole time. He had a camera with him and a couple of bodyguards the entire time he was there.
And what we have to do is, I have a new kick emoji too, by the way.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I do think that, and I feel bad for. I think that, and something else that Mark does to his credit is that, he after every show. I'm not sure if you still do this, Mark. So correct me if I'm wrong. But you have like a breakfast or a luncheon where you have people who came to the con that previous year come back up, meet with you. There's a lunch, and you discuss what can be done at the next year's show to make it better. What you didn't like, what you did like. And I'm not sure if Mark still does that, but
Mark does a nice job on his show. Down here in the South, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, yeah, Mark, you got to go to Columbia and do a show. North Carolina, right? South Carolina. And we'll send Randy and Mark down and do a co-branded show. It'll be the I don't know what we'll call it. Michigan comes to I don't know. I was saying Michigan comes to Columbia, but that doesn't. Could make little like South Carolina shirts and
more South Expo or something.
yeah. I do not though. I think that we have done that in the past, but not this year. We did that moral line this year. Yeah, I see. I think that those are they're being able to reach out to the promoter. Now, I have a question, Mark, for you because I was talking to a publisher, and he said that he had got a and Randy, you can probably tell me about this. I don't know, Randy, you don't send out any like surveys about how do we do or what can we do better, do you?
No. I put on a really small show. I mean, it's not it's more of a fun party than it is a big production. It's nothing compared to Grand Rapids Con.
And before I read this question, he says North Carolina, South Carolina is a rough market right now. Very dedicated by Heroes Con.
Dictated. Yep. It is. Heroes Con's been there for so long.
Is Heroes Con still like an independent show though, or did they get bought?
No,
Heroes. Yeah.
Belden Drum still runs Heroes, and Heroes is the only show in town that legitimately treats the creators like they should be treated. But he's got so many people there that you can't include everybody locally anymore.
It's very much looked at as a comic book show, not a media show, too.
Exactly.
But so, Mark, when you send out the, hey, I've seen you do it on Facebook. What can we do better for next year's show? Has there ever been a reply that would get someone shit canned for the previous year? Because I know a publisher right now he is steadfast in his belief that that he got shit canned from a show and banned from a show because he actually went in and said the show wasn't very good. Here's the problem, blah 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 blah. Is that something that you would ever, Randy? Would you ever put somebody out of a show because they said, "Hey, next year at Flit, why don't you decrease the amount of tables, or why don't you?"
No, because like I said, it's all just a little party. Mm-hmm. My shows are. They're not like a super huge production like the Grand Rapids Con or the Motor City Con. Somebody comes up to me and has a problem, we'll tackle it right there. And if he says they can't come back or they're not going to display for whatever reason, then that's entirely up to them. If we can't meet their needs, we can't meet their needs. But it's more of a friendly, almost a family type gathering. Mm-hmm. Like from the Saginaw show, because it was the first time we ran a show up there, we ran into our share of problems, some happy problems, some rough problems. And I had a couple of vendors tell me, love the show, want to come back, but I'm going to need this, this, and this. And I'm like, yes, you absolutely are going to need this, this, and this. And we'll do our best to accommodate that. Yeah.
Ted Davies says, GalaxyCon was awesome in Raleigh. I know that Victor Dandridge just joined the GalaxyCon family. Let's try to get Victor in here. I'm pretty sure I can. I'm
trying to get someone that does conventions right around here or has been, so that you can get a little bit more of an insight of what's going on around here. But he's kind of, I don't know if I want to come in here.
Now, when you so really, what needs to start happening, I think, or what could help with the communication, or just say publisher promoter relations, is if some promoters came out like Mark just did and say, hey, listen guys, I'm paying $100,000 for this space.
Well, just the whole thing out with in general. I'm glad to see that transparency, because there's so many guys like we just had Soda City Comic Con last weekend, and they did a big expose 3-page story in the local paper about it. And he's like, well, I'm not going to tell anybody my trade secrets.
Mhm.
Like, what trade secrets could you possibly have? We know how you get Michael Rooker and other people that you're bringing in. You contact their agents and you set up you pay the fee and they come. I mean, it's not that difficult in that respect. It was kind of like just a very put offish attitude by that particular showrunner.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people around here, there's people that are very pleased with the show. And then there's people who are like, that was really bad, and that's been that way for, situations. And yes, like Mark says, some people cannot be accommodated for whatever reasons.
Yep.
You
can't please everybody.
Right. I mean, some people, I can remember when people got mad because I asked to be removed from one spot to another because my father's with me at the show and he's in a scooter. And so we didn't want him out in the aisle where everybody be bumping into him. So I wanted to be at a corner spot so I could put him out behind the table more.
Mm-hmm.
And
there are no trade secrets. It's all about contacts and hard work, getting a show off the ground. That's very true.
And
Sean Martinez, thanks for
Sean from right here in Columbia.
Okay.
So he did come.
It's an awesome hot girl, by the way. I like it.
Yeah, I don't know if is that from one of your previous RoundCon designs, Sean?
Anyway. And Grand Rapids Comic Con, I have a very short list of people that we don't allow to vend at our show any longer. Some people just can't be pleased or know how to react in public.
You're always going to run into idiots like that.
Yeah. And
there are a few vendors out there that I don't want back.
Mm-hmm.
That have done my shows. It just, it's okay. You don't have to come back.
Mark was also one of the first when I had a situation at another con. Mark was one of the first promoters to reach out. Even though he was at that show, mm-hmm. He reached out to me and was like, "Hey, what happened? Give me that guy's name. I want to make sure he's never at one of our shows." And so again, it's how you treat the community. I think maybe if we as publishers start to realize that the promoters of these shows, the good ones, are part of that same community. Mm-hmm. Because again, they're putting up like $100,000 to run a show for 4 days. That's a lot of money,
or more.
Yeah, or more. Yeah, or more.
Half a mil, and or a quarter mil.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think that and then too, you got that much money on the line. Now you got to deal with all these people, thousands of different attitudes.
People who don't know how to behave.
God forbid you got to deal with my wife. Oh God.
I hope that your wife doesn't do some of the things that Sean and I have had to deal with the shows.
my wife does not get upset often, but there was a point. 2012 Wizard World, they had really oversold the venue, mm-hmm. And Wizard was like, "Stick them where you can," and it looked like an occupied country because Wizard gives you these long placards with your name on. It's mm-hmm. long, about I don't know, maybe 22-inch, maybe signs, whiteboard, and they write your name on. Your name's mm-hmm. typed on it. Very nice, like impact font right mm-hmm. across it. Well, because they were adding people, like mm-hmm. people were walking in there with money, had one a table. Mm-hmm. People had started to go tape their signage with an arrow of where they were at on pillars. So like it was like walking through a country. He just had like, so Varian Grant over this way. It was, but you know what? It was a fun show. I mean, we were packed in there. There was no order to how some of the tables. Artist Alley had just like exploded and spilled over on itself. He says Varian's wife is very charming. That's because she's watching. But yeah,
Like this, Varian?
yeah, something like this. A little bit longer than that, but yeah, Wizard World does
Really, a
great.
little bit longer than that. Wow.
Yeah, it's long. Yeah. It's super long now, and it's about the length. It's about 60% of your table length now.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. That's part of where that money goes for the table.
I don't need something that expensive.
And most people this card and throw them away when they're finished. But I've got tons of them. I take them after the show is over. Randy,
there's mine from Motor City. Quite a few years ago.
Yeah, Motor City's wish to that style.
I had a bunch of them hanging up here, back behind me.
Yeah, I see the one up in the back there now.
Yeah, but I don't know if we now Mark, is there any way to make it cheaper? Is there any way?
Motor City.
Mark says we don't print those signs. Most people bring their own banners anyway. That is true.
Yeah.
Is there any way to?
I got a bunch.
Is there any way to work with the convention center to make it cheaper? Is there any way that you can say, "Hey, look, I can't afford, give me a break. I'm here every year." Sean Martinez says, at the end of the day, running an event is really running a business. You have to factor in costs and attendance and have an actual business plan. Yeah.
One show I do in Detroit, they make they print out on Coroplast, and they have little tripods that they set up, and they've used the same Coroplast sign for like the last 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
For to stake where your table's at. You can just walk around, read the signs, and you know what table is yours.
Mark says no, the convention centers have their exclusives and you either use them or not. And so yeah, you can't even the unions, nothing, you can't go outside of that. Gosh, I that's a rough beat.
Every hall has their rules and their unions, so you have to abide by that if you want to be in that hall.
And it just depends on how big of a show you want to run. And Randy, you remember when we used to do this? Well, you and I didn't do them together, but back in the '90s, where they had all the shows almost every weekend, there was a show at a VFW or a show at a Lions Club. Or
well, I here's a question I want to ask. And Mark and even our listeners, and they can type in, do you think that there are people running cons? Well, we know they are, but people who just jump up, like me, hey, I want to run a convention. I'm going to do it. And I don't know the first name I run a Comic-Con, but damn it, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. And I get a hall and I run it, and I run it right into the ground. Do you think maybe promoters of these shows need to have almost just like a list of that we could have of trusted promoters? Should we start building that type of list where we know we can go to a show put on by Mark Hodges or, a Motor City Comic-Con, where we can identify who the promoters who have done their homework and done their due diligence to put on good shows, who they are?
But that's what word of mouth is all about.
It's word of mouth, and it's subjective to what you think is good work too. Like you say, some people aren't going to be satisfied no matter what you do anyway.
Mark says, now to be fair, my union and SMG is pretty laid back compared to, say, Detroit, Chicago, or Fort Wayne. Or San Diego. Wow. San Diego is crazy.
Sean Martinez says, as far as costs, as venue costs, some hotels will give you a break on space with a large room block. Though some venues will also price out events if they do not like the content. And he says, don't get me started. Oh God, yes, FedCon USA was such a disaster. But yeah, Darian, yes, sounds my wife. She says that every night. Preferred promoters list, right, Ted? A list where we know, okay, this person is going to do good business, because I've gone to some conventions, one of which is put on by a buddy of mine, and I walked into his show. He did it at the Senior Citizens Hall. There was a refrigerator, guys. A refrigerator on the convention floor. I don't know what was in it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a refrigerator. Professor Triker was at that show, as a matter of fact.
Maybe you didn't want to know what was in that refrigerator. Is that a VW hall?
Facebook has rated that Comic-Con on it. I don't know if you guys have seen that particular sub.
Yeah. I'm a part of the group. Rate That Comic-Con. I'm a part of that. I get a message from it. I look to see if it's drama. If it is, I keep reading. And
yeah, that's about it. Is it really a preferred promoters list, or is it just a drama site?
It descends in the drama, in my opinion. It descends in the drama. I'm probably gonna be banned from it in a minute for saying that. But yeah, it descends in the drama.
Mark says your preference is very subjective. Some artists like small shows, some just like the huge events. Plus, it's how much you like the promoter.
Yeah,
just the overall feel of the show too. I've found a lot of shows have very different feels, even with the same promoter. There's a different atmosphere to it.
We have Yelp for food. I mean, why not Yelp for a snap of Yelp for Comic-Cons? That people can rate, but then again, like you said, people tend to rate when they're pissed. I didn't make any money at the show. 1 star.
No, I mean, different. The same show can get different ratings from different eras too. I mean, it has to do with not just the promoter or the show, but how we're culturally changing as an audience base too. I used to do Charlotte Comic-Con with Rick Fortenberry and Dave Hinson. And I stopped doing that earlier this year because for the last 4 or 5 shows, not just my sales, but the interaction I had with fandom at those shows diminished significantly compared to what it had been, when they first started. And, yes, the show's getting bigger. There's more competition to be had. So there's that effect. But there's also a change in the attitude of the audience base. They don't seem to be interactive with the artists as a whole. And this is something a lot of us were talking about with each other at the last show I was at back in December. And I made a comment about that publicly on my Facebook, and Rick and Dave got offended. And I said, okay, well, if you're that upset about it, then I just won't come anymore. Because it's not worth it for me to go to a show where I don't feel like I'm wanted by the audience base anymore, and I'm making $30 for the day or 2-day show. It's not worth me driving 200 miles round trip anymore for that. Unfortunately. And that doesn't mean that the show sucks. I'm not dissing him. I'm just saying it's changed to it's no longer my kind of venue. And a lot of other guys are like, well, yeah, we see where you're coming from, but we don't want to bad mouth. No, say bad mouth. I'm just say that you're having a similar experience so that they're aware if there's something going on that they need to take a look at,
Mark says Rate That Comic-Con is mostly for diehard con attendees. There's been a lot of anti-wizard sentiment in that.
Does anybody have a non-anti-wizard sentiment these days? I mean, I know you've got your whatever, how much money you got invested there in Varian and Wizard?
I have Wizard stock, sir. That's different.
That's good.
No, I have about $245 invested in Wizard. Not much. Not even the price of a table. But you best believe I have that stock certificate on me when I go to shows, so I can remind them, hey guys, I should have privileges. I don't get shit. I get told, yeah. I don't get shit. I get told, there you go, sir. There you go.
Paper and a bathroom pass is all you get with that piece of paper.
Yeah,
and no toilet paper with it, just the bathroom pass.
I've been told. I mean, and you guys can. Yeah, I don't even get the green room with that. Isn't that a damn shame? You can see the stock is currently sitting at
15 cents.
15 cents, which is better than what it's been in a while because usually it's about 10 cents. I don't even look anymore, honestly. I should cash out, but I do like having money in Wizard. I do like it. I get to remind them that I run this. I don't. I'm afraid one day I'm gonna mess around and own the company just by some type of fluke. I'll wake up one morning and it's mine. Oh crap!
You'll be the last one out. Guess what? You own it.
Yeah.
Now you're billions of dollars in debt.
GR Comic Con says, I am not offended at all if our show is not for a certain artist. Every show fits a different demographic. For example, more PG artists is better at our event than an R-rated artist.
Yeah. Yep.
Sean says, a promoter should never be offended when it comes to criticism. They should look at the event and figure out what they can do to better the experience for everyone, especially the artist. And he says, Sean Martinez agreed completely. I welcome criticism. Even the biggest steaming pile of critical pompous crap will have a nugget of corn in there. Just have to find it. And
Mark knows it's after 10 o'clock.
Yeah. I'm all of a sudden not hungry. Yeah. Let me put that up there. That's a 10. We're good. Yeah.
TV 14.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think that that's very important, that the criticism we need to and two, I'm pretty sure promoters, even though promoters are kind of like all singled off to themselves, they probably have some requests of indie publishers too, and the artists. But hey, could you guys stop doing this and stop doing that? I mean, they probably don't like some things that we do too. I'd be interested in knowing what that is.
They don't like them enough to take 10%.
Oh, no towel.
No.
Yeah, nothing to clean yourself up with after you've been told to grab your ankles. Do you, Randy? Since you have a small one-day show, but is your show, and now you're doing you've done the Saginaw show,
right?
There's got to be the little inkling of idea of growth back there, right? Like maybe I can expand and I can get into, because I don't know, I can't say that on the air, but there was people already telling you get a bigger venue.
Oh yeah. They wanted me to get a bigger venue. It's like, no, I was invited up there by the marketplace. It fits real good. We're just going to keep doing little shows. If somebody wants to come up and do it, a bigger show, then that's up to them. They did have a bigger, supposedly they took a bigger venue and had a bigger show the month after our Saginaw show. And I'm pretty sure they didn't have the same attendance that we had.
Mark says, I can't contribute to that too much, but most indie publishers we work with do a great job and aren't a problem at all.
They're like everybody else. They're there to make money.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? You're going to do whatever you can, to press the flesh, make money.
So, and we didn't, here's another thing that we got to add to
as a convention promoter, though, I'm sure Mark will agree with me. It's important to get the locals in there, just so what's really important, at least to me, is for the local people, because I set up in a marketplace. I get a lot of people that walk in that have never been to any type of a comic show before, and to walk around and actually see somebody from the local area that's doing this kind of work and doing it incredibly well just endears that person to the art form even more. And you're going to see a regular returning customer like that. Oh, I met so-and-so. He lives over in Swartz Creek and draws comics. He's awesome. And then you're going to want to, that person's going to want to come back. They'll start looking for the dates of the show so that they can come in there and see who else is local, Yeah.
And then that, I've gotten business because of that. I've gotten people that came to me and asked me to do a commission, outside of the show, get this done for me because I am local.
Yep.
I think it is important. to do that. But one other thing that I want to bring up, on top of how much money that most of these promoters are out of, then they got to figure out how to bring people there to the show.
How to bring what?
Bring people to the show.
Yeah.
So now they got to kind of go out there and start calling up agents. That's where people like Lewis come in and start asking for buku bucks. I'm just kidding. No, I'm messing with you, Lewis. But they got to contact Hollywood agents and get, your Hollywood, zombie from Walking Dead. They got killed in the first season. They got to get him there, and and so many people come with guarantees. They want to make, X amount of dollars to be at your show. So now you got that hanging over your head. You're already, again, you're already on the hook for $10,000.
Yeah.
Now you're bringing this guy in. He wants a guarantee. This girl in, she wants a guarantee. And, there are artists now who are saying, hey, if I got to pay $400 for a table, I want a guarantee. Which will never happen.
Let's face it, they're charging the artists the $400 table to guarantee that money to those other people. That's how they're paying that off.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, why am I paying for them to be here when the artists are supposed to be your lead draw at a comic show? That's how the creators feel. The writers and artists are the lead draw. And that's the issue, really, as far as that goes,
Yep.
He says, Mark says, every artist is there to make money. It is my job to bring in the people. It is your job to sell your stuff. He also says, Randy, Dial Center is pretty cheap if you want some help on it, but my kind of cheap may not be your kind of cheap.
Yeah, there you go.
my kind of cheap is I got a family pack of Twizzlers.
I'm kind of happy there. I wasn't going to even set up in Saginaw, but I got invited up there by the marketplace people. They contacted me because they saw the show I was putting on in Flint and asked me to put one up in Saginaw. So I know how that word got out to them, to the Saginaw folks, and how I got contacted. And those same people also have venues up in Bay City and Midland too, that they're kind of spreading the word out to. So you never know.
Gabe says, I've had acquaintances that found me at the Flint show and then realized I was an artist.
Yeah. Yep.
Sean Martinez says, that was the venue where they seriously thought it was going to be okay to serve alcohol without any ID check. That was when we had a large attendance of minors. Plus, they tried to change that the price point and apparently had cameras in every room to see what we were doing.
Yeah, that was a show here in Columbia that he had done the show here earlier, and I was at the convention that year. And then the next year, they pulled all this stunt on him at like maybe I think 3 to 7 days before the actual show took place. They just came up with all this on him, and it was a nightmare. He had to move across the street. It was lucky. It was wonder the show even got made that year.
Mark says, I have received quotes from Avengers cast members that want a guarantee of $125K per day. Hence why they aren't in our show. Our crowd is solid, but I don't feel we have enough to make those guarantees.
Yep.
Well, that's certainly reasonable.
Ted Davies says, let's do Bay City Con, Randy. I only go where I'm invited, Ted. It's a nice thought, but let's see. One step at a time.
Whoa, guys. I gotta speak on behalf of me and Dave and JR Dunn. There are some cons that we just can't go to. We're not the
Are you saying up north?
Corporate color. And I'm just saying some of us don't have the complexion for the protection of the collection.
Oh, you need to get out. You need to get out more. There's a very inclusive crowd in Saginaw and Bay City.
Oh, Saginaw was fine. You
don't have anything to worry about in Bay City, and everybody's getting a little bit more inclusive in the northern state, or the northern side of the state too.
Start talking about Howell, and I started getting a little worried.
Howell, yeah, well, that's you get close to Kahakta and the rumors or urban legends or whatever, but even that's kind of calm down.
Sean says, I had a good staff and massive willpower to pull off the event. It was one of the best we did. I mean,
given the circumstances, that was his best show. It was a night, but I felt so sorry for him when that happened.
I have a question too, and Randy, I know, and maybe Mark can chime on this if he's still in the chat. Have you guys ever had let me see here, a situation where you had another promoter trying to not just steal your date, but trying to steal your talent away too? Like,
Mark probably doesn't have that problem because he's over in Grand Rapids, but there's always something coming up in Flint. If it's not another show, it's another event or something else going on downtown. So I moved the fall show around twice and still ended up backed up against the Monroe show this year. So I just got really tired of having to deal with the cancer run in October, and they wouldn't give me a date that their date was on so that I could reschedule my date. So I just got out of October because October is breast cancer month, and downtown Flint, the Cancer Society always seems to find my weekend to put on their big 20,000 attended walkathon.
You see that?
So
you see that? Mark cares about me. Hal actually has an active chapter of the KKK, and he's not talking about the Kentucky Knights of Klansbury either. He's talking about the Ku Klux Klan.
No, I knew what you were talking
the original boys in the hood.
It's actually outside of Howell.
No,
but,
Howell, Southwest.
You can't go to Southwest Detroit. I can, but I'm not going to Howell. This old sure happens all the time with people trying to steal your talent and steal people who you got coming to your show. That's
and I'm probably shouldn't be speaking, but the thing that bothers me right now is influx of charity cons where people are doing conventions that they say are for charity. So that bothers me a lot because I guess I'm just touchy about charities.
So, in what way?
Well, what do you mean? I mean, Randy, you mean that do you think they're not doing it for charity? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't want to say.
Okay.
It's just that it's easy. It's easy to say all the profits are going to charity, and it's very easy to decide what is profit. Let's put it that way. And I've run into that a couple of times that it just turns my stomach. And, I love, I love contributing to charities, good charities. There are awesome charities out there. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, these guys are up there and you just sit there and you go, okay, how much of this is going to pad your expenses before you give any profit over to, mostly with people stealing talent. We booked, look at the Mount Pleasant show happening in October and compare their comic list to ours. Yeah.
Well, so see drama. You seen it here first on Indie Vote, ladies and gentlemen.
Drama.
Yeah.
The Mount Pleasant show. That's not drama. That's in a casino. So
they stole.
Breaking news.
They stole Grand Rapids list.
If you saw the convention that happened in Saginaw a month after our show, they got their talent right from. I think they walked through our show and just asked everybody if they wanted to do their show here next month. Mm-hmm. So their guest list, their comic guest list especially, was our comic guest list. So
is that Fantasticon?
At Mount Pleasant? Yeah.
Randy, there have been 3 new ones for charities that popped up this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It irks me sometimes, because you never know how honest these guys can be or are. So like when we announced that Saginaw was going on, not only did we have the local radio station pop in because we were a Comic Con that was coming up, all of a sudden we got bombarded by 2 different people wanting to do a charity con and wanting to tie into our show.
I'm going to bring Victor in real quick. Hold on. Victor.
Yo.
Hey, how's it going, sir?
What's going on, y'all?
Oh, you're Crystal. That's awesome. 5x5.
Yeah. Victor has independent comic creator, publisher. Worked, and now he's moving into almost working for conventions while still doing moving his artwork and his properties, his IPs. Recently, Victor, you've become a part of GalaxyCon.
Yep.
Family. So one of our topics this week is that there are some indie guys who believe that Comic-Con is no longer important for them as an indie publisher going forward. And nobody here really believes it. But what we're saying is that, and Mark Hodges, who does the Grand Rapids Comic-Con, is in the chat, and he was saying that we came to this kind of conclusion that maybe what needs to happen is there needs to be more a better relations between promoters of cons and the attendees, not attendees, but the exhibitors, because Mark just gave us a number that he pays for his convention rented show floor that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
If someone told me to pay that, I wouldn't pay it for a house. So
he's at a major convention center in a major city too.
Yeah,
and it's a really big convention center.
Now, you at GalaxyCon, are you do you have the same kind of job that you had when you were working at the previous job?
Yes. Thank you for not name dropping, but no. I definitely have more of that type of position where I am a liaison, definitely between the show promoter and exhibitors, particularly for Artist Alley.
Mm-hmm. So you have to. So I can come to you to complain, basically.
Oh yeah. You can definitely come to me to complain. And it's I'm kind of taken aback by the subject matter. Mm-hmm. Only by way of I've heard it before, and it's kind of a weird thing where the stem of it comes from a lot of comic book creators don't necessarily love the evolution that Comic Cons have had. Yes, there's a huge, sense of popularity when it comes to the actors and actresses of TVs and film, and there's this idea that maybe Comic Cons aren't caring about comic books anymore. But the truth is that comics have just evolved to include that, and as the largest feature, that should be embraced. That should be something that, as comic creators, we need to jump on board with this and recognize that Comic Cons are a huge resource to get even lay people that aren't necessarily comic readers, aren't necessarily already on board with Marvel, DC. That's people that are of a like mind and are right for us to kind of grab and make our fans. So I can't understand why no one would think that that's a good move, especially direct to consumer sales. As indie guys, we make the most money. We make more money than if we sell to retailers at a discount, more so than if we go through Diamond. We get full, income off of what we sell. So why wouldn't you want that?
Because what they're saying is the money gets spent on the photographs and the photo ops with the celebrities, and they have no money to buy your book.
See, I've heard that complaint for a long time. And again, a little background about myself. I'm a full-time self-publishing creator. Sure. I've been doing this full-time as my gig for 9 years. Right. So, as Comic-Con culture has evolved to be so very celeb-centric, if that was the case, then I wouldn't have survived. There's definitely a market for it. It's just a matter of those people that are essentially making that broad, swipe claim. They're expecting the setup and that money just comes to them, but they're not creating an engagement for the attendees. They're not creating any sort of experience that people are going to want to be a part of. And that's the difference. The reason why these people are buying these photo ops is because it's an experience. They're trying to capture this moment that they were in this place with this celeb. If you create a similar experience without them having to pay, gobs and gobs, of course you can still get that. That's crazy talk. That's what our job is. Not just to create the content that people read, but to create an experience that they're going to come and experience that with us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay.
Mark says he's listening to Victor preach the gospel right now.
Hey.
I think that I I do think that we were talking about earlier, before you came in, that there are some promoters out there who have no business running cons. People they see, they walk into a show like a Galaxy Con, a Motor City Comic Con, a Grand Rapids Comic Con, and say, "Hey, I want to do this, and I happen to have, I can use the skating rink down the street from my house for free.
Right.
I'm gonna do a show." And
I'm laughing because that's happened.
and they do it.
I've been to plenty of those.
And you're like, holy shit, you know,
Right.
this sucks.
Yep.
And you walk in there, and you know everybody's unhappy. I did a show. I won't say what state it was in because I'll give away the show. Apparently, everybody else does really well there. I made goose egg. I made nothing, but it was years and years ago, and it may have been me, may have been my setup, may have been
Could have been your breath.
getting my breath. It could have been a lot of things, but Willie Peppers was next to me. He did very well.
Okay.
But I, did not do well, and I haven't been back since. But I don't think it was that show's fault. I think it was more me, but because that show has been going on for a while. But there are some people jumping into doing shows right now who don't have the slightest idea what they're doing, and they are charging, $300, $400, $500 for tables, or pricing, like, okay, well, you're a publisher, because you've probably had this, Victor. You're a publisher, you can't be an artist alley. You're going to get an exhibitor table, and that exhibitor table is a lot more than an artist alley table.
Oh, it absolutely is. I luckily have never ran into that because as a self-publisher, I don't necessarily carry that umbrella, that weight. I can go in as me, a writer, and yes, I'm a self-publisher, but I am an active creator of the content. It's not about the publishing imprint that I'm going under. It's me. So I can like kind of circumvent the need to necessarily be bumped over to the small press stuff. And I always have mixed emotions about that. The way I look at it is pretty much like, as a creator, my job as specifically an independent creator is to get people to like my brand. And I'm the first representative of my brand. I need you to like me. Vantage Inhouse is my imprint, and it's where I, can kind of rally everyone under this enjoyment of the stuff that I've produced. But the truth is that Vantage Inhouse doesn't really matter, not when I'm at a convention. I will pump it. That's a brand that I try to, create some clout under, but I really want you to like me first and foremost. So being under a small press booth or banner structure doesn't really work as well, because you're not going to get to know me, or you're not going to look for me. You're going to look for my brand of the imprint. The other thing is, I also feel like when you get moved to that area, you are secluded to only people that are looking for small press books. And I am actively guilty of it. I don't support indie comics. I support good comics. I don't care if you're indie. I don't care if you're mainstream. If you're good, I want to read it. But once you put people into a section of, oh, this is for a small press, or this is independent, if I'm not of that ilk, if I'm not of that mindset, that's not where I'm going. I don't want that. Let me find something, a rare gem, as I'm going, down and out through Artist Alley. Let me have something shine a light from the heavens that catches my eye, that holds true court amongst anything, because when you do that, that's how you know you're really, really good. For a long time, I wouldn't even do like black themed comic cons, because what I never wanted to do was, I never wanted to be a really good black comic creator. I just want to be a good comic creator. So, you know what I'm saying? So like, if I do mainstream shows where I'm with, big name guys, small name guys, print guys, if I make money, then there's no question to my skill set. If I'm there next to a legend, if Neil Adams is at a show and I'm at a show, I'm going to make my money because that's my job. I don't care that Neil Adams is there. No disrespect. He's Neil Adams. But I can't let the fact of somebody else being in the room or any sort of challenge to my business affect my business. Because otherwise, then I have no business. So, I've never actually had the small press booth thing, but I wouldn't want it for that reason. I wouldn't want to be relegated to a certain area that seems so very niche within a niche specific sort of market.
Mark says a study done by San Diego shows that only 7% of people are going to buy autographs from the celebrity area. Generally, from our numbers, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
7% seems like a lot of people,
right?
When you got 10,000 people coming to an event, and you see those 7,000 people all rushing in the morning for one person.
Right.
Normally Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
They're all running in for him. And that's fine. That's fine. Jason, make your money. I remember.
I can remember we did a show in Myrtle Beach, and Sarah, I think her name's Sarah Douglas. She played the female in Superman 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And she came to that show. She gave up a lucrative voice acting deal for a Scooby-Doo movie to be there at that show. And the turnout was so bad, and they were like not even going to pay her attending fee.
Wow.
And we had me and a whole bunch of other people had to raise holy hell with the promoter on that. That was 07 or no, it's 2010.
Yeah, that's definitely somebody that had no business doing a con.
This very same show, the year before, I'd take both my disabled parents with me to the show.
Wow.
A hotel, had to take my cat with me because parents were with me, so we couldn't leave the cat there for 3 days by itself. So we had to get a hotel with disabled amenities, cat friendly, all this extra stuff, pay for 3 people's food. This year, where this thing happened with Sarah Douglas, John Norris, who's in the chat, drove me down with the 2 of us. We stayed in his parents' townhouse in the in town in Myrtle Beach. The year before, I made $855. The next year, I was $65 in the hole.
Wow.
And all that was cosplayer calamity, nothing but damn cosplayers the whole day. And where they placed us. I was in the very back corner of the room, so that you had to go through everybody else before you could see my stuff.
What year did you say this was?
2010.
Okay.
It was in Myrtle Beach. It's con.
Lewis says he hasn't done it in San Diego since 2000, 2003, but given how often creators and vendors alike are saying they weren't making money anymore, one has to wonder just what attendees are spending money on.
At that specific show.
And Mark says cosplay, prints, Dumbledore, trinkets, Funko Pops, characters they recognize, anime, and of course plushies. I personally have seen, the good news is, and no matter what, I have seen an uptick in the amount of money that I make at shows.
Right.
I'm nowhere near that sad little number I was making in 2009, 2010. If I made those numbers now, I probably wouldn't be doing this. But so that is good. That right. Shows that there is some health in the business. Now, am I making, $40,000, $50,000 like some people doing crowdfunding, just sitting in my chair? No. But I do think it is important to go out there, and I'm glad that we got, Mark, who does wonderful things when he again reaches out to people. Mark, you really need to bring back the exhibitor luncheons. You need to bring those back because I'm trying to eat for free.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. I'm trying to eat for free. Yeah. I'm trying to eat for free. That's all.
Victor, I've always found when I'm doing Mark's show, I never get a chance to get out to the green room because I'm feeling. So,
yeah.
What are you saying, Lewis?
I'm not familiar with your brand. What's your name of your company again?
So it's Vantage Inhouse Productions, based out of Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, I've been, like I said, self-publishing full-time. We launched our first book in 2011, a series called The Samaritan. And I can say it. I was really active, very heavy on the Wizard World Tour for a very long time. I joined up with them probably 2013 and was pretty active up until like pretty much earlier this year in different capacities. And it's one of those things where, and no disrespect to your experience under any circumstance, because I understand that experiences can paint the picture of what we understand is true or false. And I'm of a mindset, a perspective even that one, it doesn't matter where you put me in a show, I'm going to make money.
I would have loved to see you try it. I would have loved to see you try it, buddy, because I don't think you would have succeeded.
I'm telling you, I've got a 4-bedroom house, 5 children. If I can't do this, then I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? Like right, there's no there's nothing that I can allow to be a hindrance with such, back home criteria. So if it's a matter of,
I don't think that particular show you would have done it, but and yeah, you could try.
I mean, that's the thing though. Like to look at the different ways that I move. I think the way I do things is very unconventional. It's actually a brand of mine that I talk about things where being unconventional at shows is the key to actually make that stuff work. Is one of the reasons why, like, as much as people are lamenting the fact that there are all these print walls in Artist Alley, I love it, because the truth is that while there's all these print walls, the moment that you see me and I don't have one, I stand out. You know, I'm now the rare gem of something that you can hold on to, that you can meet me and actually get to know me, as opposed to I like this character and whoever did it is borderline irrelevant. That's something I get to, you know, face off against regularly. I'm also the same guy that I take advantage of opportunities that are given to me that other people might shy away from. I've actively done press for conventions, and obviously that puts me in a position where, you know, I'm being seen on a larger scale, but it's because I'm willing to do something that a lot of creators aren't. You know, they're not as comfortable being out there and talking and doing this, that, and the other. My brother, Mike Watson, he's another key example of somebody that steps out of the norm and brings in the right amount of attention for himself. So one of the things that he'll do, he calls it the hype line. So before a show starts that morning, while there's people lined up, he'll go and he'll engage them, interact. There's some music stuff that he does, some trivia stuff that he does, and he's passing out, you know, cards that say, hey, come find me at my table. And again, it doesn't matter where he is in the convention floor. People that are interested in winning free stuff, engaging with this guy, here they come over to the table as soon as they get a chance, because they want to get something for free, or they want to keep talking.
Your brother will be kicked out of half the conventions down here because that's going up against the show's promoters who are doing exactly the same thing with giveaways. They'd say you weren't allowed to do that. You're gone.
I've never seen that happen. Like I said,
if I run across a show that tells me that I can't, promote myself, I don't want to be there.
Right. Because the goal is you don't want me to make money for what? Right. You know, especially if
I'm trying to tell you, this is what we're dealing with down here.
Yeah, where are you out of?
I'm in South Carolina.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
I used to live in Michigan, but I've been in South Carolina for a while now.
Okay, got you.
And we don't
kinds of money in Michigan, dude. Michigan's great for conventions.
and we don't hold it against Victor that he's from Ohio.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm from Ohio. Kind of like
No.
Ohio anyway. So
we excommunicated Lewis to South Carolina.
Dang.
Yeah,
he's to Ohio. You send him south. Okay.
Yeah, we send him way south. Victor, I know you don't have much time. I know you've been on, and I appreciate you coming on with us.
No, of course.
But if somebody, I know that I've yet to do a GalaxyCon show. I do plan on doing it.
Yeah,
I'll do one pretty soon. I will say this though, and say there was to one of the points that you made. I encourage freebies from people as much as they wish. I have several shows that use our show to promote their brand. Okay, as long as I can do the same.
Right.
And you have the You Create Comics brand now, and we did an unboxing on IndieVolt, the IndieVolt TV. We did an unboxing of and it's basically where you have branded boards now.
Right.
Cardstock boards, some
all kinds of material to help you make your own comics.
Yeah. So like you can, I know that there were card decks. You can come with the plot as well as powers.
Right.
Really develop a character right off of this. It almost made it into like a game in a way.
Yes. And this is stuff that I do specifically in schools. I was a kid that I didn't like to read as a child. That was weird. But comic books changed all that, and so the main function of the You Create line is to really support students that, you know, might not necessarily like the traditional curriculum, but to engage them with, pop culture and superheroes in ways that still kind of boost or accent, classroom fundamentals, critical thinking, creative writing, reading comprehension, things like that. And then we just branded further out into having traditional comic art supplies. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what You Create was built on, kind of me giving back to the industry.
Yeah, and my son, I have some of You Create stuff from the unboxing, so my son uses it. He was a little confused because you have your You Create Comics brand,
right?
And then there's another brand that jumped out there called You Create, and I know that there was a little problem between Yeah.
God, that was years ago.
Yeah.
That was years ago.
Well, my son thought it was the same thing. He's like,
Oh,
well,
did
I have
he?
to get this paper because it's the same paper. I'm like, no, it's completely different. That's
It's
not.
a little different. It's a little different.
Yeah. But so I'm looking forward to you continuing with GalaxyCon.
Oh yeah.
And being able to complain to you now when when I'm not getting my way.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Now is GalaxyCon just one show down in Columbus, and when?
No. GalaxyCon isn't even in Ohio. It's based out of Florida. It's formerly Florida SuperCon.
Okay.
Reed Pop bought the Florida SuperCon brand, and Mike Broder and Sandy Martin they rebranded as GalaxyCon.
Okay.
The Raleigh show, which was going really, really well, and the Louisville show. And then they added Richmond and Minneapolis. So those are the 4 currently on their roster right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And like literally, I mean, to show how well that they've built this brand up, I just did the Raleigh show for the first time ever, let alone under the GalaxyCon imprint. And on Thursday, this is not even a joke, this is the Thursday after San Diego Comic-Con, they had 7,000 attendees on a Thursday. Like, that to me says that they have found a way to penetrate the market and promote well enough to pull in like a crazy amount of attendees on an off day. You know?
That's cool.
Yeah, I know 3-day shows or 2-day shows that on a Saturday don't pull that. So
Raleigh's North Carolina, South Carolina?
Yeah, okay. North Carolina. And I mean,
yeah, Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's probably the same 7,000 who attended Rick and David's show last weekend.
Any plans on GalaxyCon coming up to Ohio?
You know, I've maybe talked to them about a couple things like that. Ohio is very well saturated with Comic-Con.
Seem to be hitting pretty well around it.
You gotta understand something. Victor knows what I'm talking about. And I think and Dave in the chat and Gerald know. Victor's a light skin. He's gonna play coy. He's not gonna tell us the truth.
There's certain things that I can say. There's certain things I can't say. Okay. You know, I am light skinned. We don't play coy than anybody. But like, the thing is in all honesty, like I'm very protective of Ohio in the way of looking at how many shows are here and making sure that they don't compete and or tear down what's already established here. I'd only want a show to come if it does something that no other show is doing and isn't trying to tear down something that's already there that doesn't need to be torn down.
That makes sense.
You know, it's really just a matter of protecting our culture here in Ohio for sure, and then recognizing that spreads out. You know what I mean? So, you know, there's plenty of shows, plenty of spaces. In all actuality, one of the things that I'm most hesitant about of bringing even Galaxy to Ohio is the proximity to the other Galaxy shows. You know, it's very dangerous that Richmond and Raleigh are so close together. That's within 3 hours. You know, that's not a lot of travel at all. You add in Louisville, that's still not that far, and certainly not that far from Ohio. So I don't want to suggest GalaxyCon coming here and competing with itself. That's a bad plan.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be in Cincinnati. You'd want to think about maybe popping into Cleveland.
Maybe, but then at the same time, it would only make sense if it doesn't compete with Detroit. You know what I mean? Because again, it doesn't.
5 hours away. Cleveland would be 5 hours away. You'd have to schedule it. That's all.
Yeah, because like the average that I'm finding is it's 6 hours travel is for most people the max. So if it's within 6 hours, you don't necessarily want to compete with them, especially if you're new to the market, because there's established things. There are people that are going to feel a certain kind of way about that, and it just isn't good business to necessarily compete within 6 hours of yourself. Yeah. So you know, not unless you put like a lot of time in between. But that's.
Especially on a spectacle, big show like what we do. Yeah.
And the other thing, the most important question I have to ask is, Victor, I'm gonna need one of those GalaxyCon hats. You
need one of these, man?
Yeah. I'm gonna need a GalaxyCon hat. Yeah. I got a wizard hat. I got a couple. I need.
We might have to upgrade you then.
Yeah. And then it says I don't mark him much outside of 300 miles, so that I free with a 6 hour assessment. And again, I think that it's very important that we keep these lines of communication open
Mhm.
because this way we don't start to get this idea that the conventions don't care about us.
Right.
About us indie publishers or artists, or the lines of communication need to be kept open. So you can always complain to Victor. Always.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. Here's the secret sauce that I'll tell anybody. And it's a hard pill to swallow. The thing is to not look at a convention and say, what are y'all doing for me? Ask what you can do for the convention. It'll change everything. It'll 100% change everything. How they regard you, how they interact with you, and really what you can gain from that show. It'll switch gears completely. I think we're in a different renaissance where the most lucrative way of being at a show, people haven't even tapped that yet. It's a brand new thing that I think is going to be the next wave that people are gonna love once they catch on.
And then that's why I know Sean Martinez says those promoters don't understand the creator side of the event industry, but I think that's part of the reason why they hired Victor, because he is on the creator side,
right.
So he's kind of like the voice of
Well, he's talking about those promoters. He's talking about the people that some of the people that my creative group here in Columbia are having to deal with more than anything else. Sean had a divorce, and that's why he's not doing shows right now.
Victor, I know you got to get back to your family. I appreciate you coming on so late.
Sure.
You came on really late.
Facebook, Victor?
Say that again?
You got Facebook, Victor?
Oh, I got it all, man. Facebook, Twitter, IG, everything.
And tell us where to find you at. Tell us, because we're going to put this on Indie Vote Radio as well.
Oh, perfect. So you guys can follow me on social media at Vantage Inhouse, all one word, VANTAGE INHOUSE. You can look for me personally. I'm Victor Dandridge Jr. on Facebook. You got to put the junior in, or you'll catch my dad. But he'll accept that friend request. But if you ask comic stuff about him, he'll just be like, "Oh, you mean my son?" Like, it's the funniest thing. But yeah, definitely look for me. Visit VantageInhouse.com. Visit You Create Comics. That's the letter U, CRE8. Comics.com. Find out more about that. And we got some new books coming up too. So we got a lot of stuff that we're producing in addition to all the other things that I do. That's why they call me the hardest working man in comics. I just try to live up to it.
All right, Victor. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate
Thank you.
We gotta get you back on at some point.
Oh, I would love it. Anytime.
All right, sir. You have a good night.
Thank you,
Good
guys.
talking to you.
Thank you for being here.
So yeah, and that was it. Victor came in, and I'm glad he came in and chatted with us and got us straightened out. And everyone continue the conversation. Indie Vote live at indievote.com. Send us any messages you want. Let us know what you think about Comic Cons in the future going forward. I'm got a Comic Con this weekend. I got to go to, so I'm really excited about that. We got to wrap the show up because we're over our amount of time.
I was gonna say my butt's starting to get pretty flat here.
Yeah. So
these milk crates don't provide much cushion.
No, they don't.
I gotta get me a chair.
All right, fellas. I will see you guys next week. Remember, you can catch Indie Vote here every Tuesday at 9 p.m. And then you can catch Indie Vote the morning show every Thursday morning at 9 a.m.
And there's a Zim Geek channel on YouTube too that I put content up on. I'm hoping to get some new stuff up here real quick.
Yep. And then Lewis, anything you got to say this week? You want to tell everyone bye? Nothing
right now, but hopefully next week we'll have both the Ravens starting.
All right, cool. All right, we'll see everybody next week.